All right, everybody, and welcome back to Real Time for the real everyday movie fan. I am, of course, Josh Williams.
And I'm Ryan Murphy.
Thank you so much for joining us here today, folks, because we're here to give you our real time review of Wonder Woman. Now, Wonder Woman
1984.
1984, yeah, I keep forgetting that. It's Wonder Woman. Everybody knows what's going on. But Wonder Woman 1984 was written and directed by Patty Jenkins.
Not
And
true. It was directed by Patty Jenkins. It was written by Patty Jenkins with Jeff Johns and Dave Callahan. So show
ooh,
some
okay.
respect there
I'm sorry.
to
Well
Jeff
said.
Johns.
Yeah, you gotta give Jess Johns. Well, I guess you want to. We'll talk about the script, but um, it stars Gal Gadot, Chris Pine, Kristen Wiig, and Pedro Pascal, with some special appearances by Connie Nelson and Robin Wright in the beginning of the film. Now, folks, we're gonna do something a little bit different. Usually, we give you our review, but then we'll do a separate video with a spoiler review. But we thought we kind of mold them into one for this review. So we'll give you guys our brief thoughts, or just kind of like our thoughts on the movie, non-spoiler rated. But then we'll put up a big, huge spoiler when we get into spoiler talk, because I feel like I don't know about you, Ryan, but I feel like it's hard to talk about this movie without spoilers, because the things I have problems with, the things that I have issues with, are in the spoiler territory. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
So,
mean,
but we
so
can go ahead
I
and give our scores and our initial thoughts at least first. So
yeah, definitely. So, why don't you go first? Why don't you give us your initial score and then what your thoughts on the film?
this movie sucked.
Yeah.
This movie
Okay.
blew. It's such a disappointment, guy. I'm gonna probably give it. I've been hovering between a 2.5 and a 3.5, so I'll
Ooh.
probably give it like maybe a 3 in the end.
Okay.
Just because it's not like horribly nauseating the whole time like some bad movies are. Like not like a Transformers movie is where you're sitting there watching it the whole time thinking, good Lord, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
But then in the end, I just don't remember really being all that entertained at any specific point.
Hmm.
So I guess but yeah, it doesn't make any sense. You've pointed that out even in our discussions before. You get to the end and you're like, what is this bad guy even like? What's his end game here? Like, what is this even all about? And it feels like you could cut out like an hour of the script. Just I don't know, because it's so hard to even figure out what the bad guy's end game is. Maybe you could cut out the whole script because you don't even know what he was really after the whole time. So I don't know what's important to leave in. But you could cut out a huge. I feel like you could cut out Chris Pine out of this movie. I feel like the only reason he's there is to drive home some bullshit moral they try and shove down our throats via monologue in the end. And the opening of the film, first of all, there's major problems right from the opening. They start off with a big Olympic presentation that costs
I
millions of
love the
dollars to make,
beginning.
and it's a 9-year-old competing with grown women, because that makes sense, right?
She's a half god. Of course, it makes
They're
sense.
all Amazons. They're all
They're
Amazons.
Amazons, but she's the only half god.
Okay, all right, fine. I'll concede on that point. But still, like, I watched the whole thing. It probably cost like $2 million just to make that one part,
I
and it's like,
love that
yeah,
scene.
that's not necessary for the film. Like, again, just like Chris Pine, it's only necessary to, like, the only reason it comes back at all is to reinforce some bullshit moral she's trying to shove down our throats in the end. And I'm like, if I was a producer on this film, I'd be like, let's save ourselves $2 million, guys, and not film that. Like, so, but those are my thoughts.
Yeah. So I don't hate the movie, but it's not a good movie. There are parts I enjoyed, there are parts I like, but there are so many parts I did not like, and it has to do a lot with the script. It has to do a lot with the narrative inconsistencies and the lack of logic behind it. And there's just a lot of stuff. We'll get into it in the spoiler discussion for a lot of you who have seen it here in a bit. But there's just a lot of issues. The script is the biggest part, and that's surprising because Patty Jenkins has a hand in it. I mean, she wrote Monster, which is it's a terrific script, terrific film, and so
She directed Monster. Did she write it?
yes, I'm quite positive she did. I mean, you can quote me, you can see if I'm right on that one. I'm pretty positive, but
Fact checking. But
right, fact checking in real time. But anyway, so it kind of even then she does have a hand in what
she's the
she's
director.
directing.
I mean, yep, she wrote and directed Monster. Good for you.
Yeah, so I mean, but still, it's like she had a hand in writing the script. So I feel like there was just too many hands in the cookie jar for this film. I feel like it's got the sequel syndrome where there's too many villains going on,
Mm.
and I felt like you could have cut. I didn't mind Chris Pine, given how he came about. But okay, no, I take that back. How he came about makes no logical sense given the narrative. But I mean, having him be in the film, I'm just like, okay, cool, whatever. Um, but if you would to really like, put me against the wall there, you could have cut him out and Pedro Pascal. I felt like they could, if you know the origins of Cheetah and how she became to be,
Mhm.
you could have literally cut them both out and just focused on her and Kristen Wiig's character
That's
and
true. I hadn't thought about that. That you that
and focus on the archaeological aspects of it because how Cheetah comes about is involved in archaeology and artifacts, which this character with Christian Wood's character is um, she's a specialist in.
Mhm.
So I mean, you could have literally focused on that and focused on their friendship dynamic, and then something happens, and it pits them against each other. It could have been a very good character study on how your friendship, how strong can your friendship be when you want something so bad.
Well,
Either way,
what's your score out of 10?
oh, I'm sorry, I didn't give it at the beginning. I have been wrestling for a while. For now, I've only seen it once, but I'm going to see it again on HBO Max probably in the next couple days. I'm going to give it just barely a 6 out of 10, but it's probably going to
Mm.
drop only because there's some parts I did really like. The things I really liked was the opening scene. And actually the scene in the mall was so when I saw the scene in the mall, I'm like, ooh, this could be so much fun.
Now
And
that
the
makes no
pacing,
sense. We have to talk about that. We have to talk about the fact that this film is still a prequel to all the Snyderverse films, besides Wonder Woman. This is still taking place before Batman versus Superman and Justice League, and
uh-huh.
still very much within continuity. I didn't think it was going to be I thought they were kind of semi rebooting it with this film because it was going to state that Wonder Woman was famous before the events of Batman versus Superman. So you get to the
Uh,
actual film that we saw in all the trailers, and she's saving people at the mall, and then she's a secret. And it's like, no, she's not. She's wearing a bright red and blue outfit. Like she's like cutting off the security cameras, and it's like, no, sorry. So
yeah,
uh,
so that part you could argue about. We could argue about death, but I mean, just the fun aspect of it, the action of it, and I loved how her suit's a little more colorful in this one, and
yes,
brighter, and I don't know, I love the action, I love the feel of the scene, and I was like, ooh, maybe we'll get this the rest of the movie, but then, I didn't mind the setup for Kristen Wiig and Gal Gadot's relationship, but the problem I had is it starts off at such a quick, fun, fast pace, and then it becomes a snail of a film. I mean,
it
the
does.
pacing of this film is everywhere, but what really helps carry it again is Gal Gadot. I mean, I actually felt like her acting in this movie improved drastically. I mean, drastically.
She was great in
There's
the
a
first
scene,
film.
huh?
She was great in the first film, so I don't
She
know if
was,
it's.
but I mean, but I'm saying like in her dramatic acting because there's a scene between her and Chris Pine that I actually felt more
Mhm.
so than I did in the first film with between her and Chris Pine.
Mhm.
Like there's a scene between them two towards the end, and it was I felt something. Like I actually felt what she was going through there, and it was good on her part. And still, even then, like it stuck true to her character that they set up in the beginning. And so, I mean, I just feel like she carried the whole film, and I think it worked really well. And Kristen Wiig, for what she was given, she did a good job. She did a good job. What she was given, I
Mhm.
feel like if she was given more better material to work with, oh man, we would have had a great villain on our hands. We really would have a really great villain. But she kind of played a side seat character to Pedro Pascal's character, which to me, I feel like you could have just thrown him out. I don't feel like it was needed. And in the message they trying to give, to me, what message they were shoving down our throats was the message down at the end. It was ham fisted at the end.
Yeah, the
Kind of
whole
the
thing
message,
was ham-fisted. I
and
don't
you
see
could have
much
done it.
point to the film existing. That's my biggest problem.
You could have done it way more subtly and still had it been effective.
Yeah.
I felt like it was really ham fisted in regards to the ending. So overall, I mean, again, I see the second time. It's nowhere near the caliber of the first film. I think
No.
it's
Eh,
nowhere near it, and that's a disappointment for Pat Jenkins. But they've already greenlit just today. They greenlit, Wonder Woman 3,
mhm.
and we'll see how that goes. I mean, seeing this now, what are your expectations now for the third film? Do you think they're
Well,
gonna take? You think they're gonna take these criticism and maybe change things up?
I don't know how they would take the criticisms because they were all focused on the plot of this film, and this film's over. Um,
Yeah.
but no, I mean, They say Gal Gadot's basically confirmed that the third film will take place in the present day after Batman versus Superman and Justice League and everything. Um, yeah, you hit on something. The one thing I kind of like as far as this film is that Wonder Woman looked great. She looked like Wonder Woman. I've always had a problem with that in the Snyderverse.
Yeah.
But in this film, the colors are a lot brighter on her costume. She got rid of the brown strap across her chest and some of the brown straps on her arms, and she ditched the sword and shield. And even the music is less like it's that we've lost the electric guitar motif when she comes in, and it's the same music, but it's now more orchestral, so it sounds a little bit more Superman-y, less Batman-y, which is the problem I've had with how they've treated her.
I knew you'd like that part, yeah.
So, but yeah, overall the film just kind of blew. So,
yeah. So now let's go into some spoilers. So right here, folks, we're gonna put the spoiler warning up. If you have not seen it, stop here, go back, watch it, and then come back and join us. So now let's get into some of the spoiler aspects of the film.
Yeah, because our friends, even outside the United States, apparently it's not available on HBO Max. Our friend James.
Yeah, James can't see it. Yeah, it's crazy. So spoilers talk. What are your thoughts? Oh, so
my thoughts are
the logic. So what I was talking about. So me and you haven't really talked about this. The logic I was talking about in the film is with Chris Pine. So all these people are making these wishes and like, oh, I want $1 million, or I wish you would drop dead, or I want some wall in Egypt to start popping up out of nowhere. These things physically happen. But yet when she wishes Chris Pine to come back to her, he doesn't just appear. He just happens to his spirit.
Yeah, it happens like another guy.
Body. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make any narrative sense whatsoever to me.
And it was so unnecessary. Like, they could have just brought him back, but there's no point in him inhabiting someone else's body. And then they have sex, and it's like, is she raping this guy's body? Like, this is not okay. Like, this is like,
it makes you. It really just doesn't make sense narratively. And even then, like, what? So, for anybody who's still listening, what we were talking about with Cheetah's character is Cheetah is still in the comic books an archaeologist and an object specialist. And in the comic books, she gets her powers from a dagger that she slices her finger on or slices her arm on or something. And so that's how she gets the powers. Basically, a goddess of hunt, I believe it is, the goddess of the hunt, and then she becomes a half hybrid cheetah. They could have still done that. Besides having her make some fucking wish to be like Wonder Woman, and then eventually becomes a cheetah for some reason. It doesn't make.
I want to be an apex predator. Okay,
yeah.
And then randomly.
A cheetah is not the apex predator in the fucking jungle. I'm sorry to say. You want to be like a lion or a tiger or something like that. But I mean, that part again didn't make any narrative sense. And nothing's wrong with Pedro Pascal. Pedro Pascal is a great actor. I love him in anything he does. He did well in this one too. I just felt like his character was completely unnecessary.
Well, what is his freaking end game here? Because he's like, I want power, I want more, and then he's having like 7 billion people make wishes, and yes, more, and like, okay, at some point you're gonna have to like step down from the pedestal and be like, okay, now I've got what I want, I'm gonna go do something with my life, but you've just destroyed the world. And it's like the world, like, this is a lot of shit to happen in the world. Like, this 6 billion overlapping wishes is way too much to even wrap your head around about how that would affect everything. And this is all supposed to take place in the same universe as Batman versus Superman and everything. So in the next movie, like in like the Suicide Squad that's coming out next year, they should have a line like, "Hey, remember in 1984 when the world went freaking crazy?"
Right, because these people seem to remember everything that's happened.
Yeah, I thought they were going to like erase everything, but it was like, no.
You would think, and you would think something this drastic happening around the world that you would be like, it would be brought up in conversation every once in a while or something like that. I don't know, unless chaotic shit happens in this DCU so often, you're just kind of like, just another day, No,
it's pretty wonky, and just the end really got to me, where he's just yes, more. I'm like, bro, like what do you want? Like, you gotta actually want something, like, because seriously, like, the world is just being destroyed around you, and at some point you'd be like, okay, that's enough, like, cool, I'm good, like, but he just keeps, you talk about the pacing, he just keeps standing up there going for like 10 minutes, and it's just. And so that's where I got like, what's the whole point of this film? Like, usually you have at least like just a nice little at the very least, even if you don't have a very substantive film, it's just, you know, the bad guy at least has a scheme that the good guy can
Mm-hmm.
take down before he accomplishes it, and at least you have a nice little fight there. But it's like here, it's just like I don't even care for even the way the direction this goes in the end, and so I don't really like hardly anything about this movie. So
Yeah, and the other part we're talking about with Kristen Wiig's character is how they could have changed it. But even then, like the point disappointing part is they wrote her so stereotypically. So many it's a trope of a villain that we've seen over and over again with Jim Carrey. I mean, Electro and Amazing Spider-Man. You know, you kind of go on and on. It's like this dorky, nobody cares about the character, so they want revenge and they want, you know, to have be better. It's the same exact thing used over, and they sort of befriend the hero a little bit. It's the same exact trope that I was like, I'm just so surprised I'm still seeing this from someone like Patty Jenkins and Jeff Johns. It just shocked the hell out of me. But I
Jeff
want to get into
Johns,
some of the
man, as a writer,
right,
it's just like, wow, this is the worst thing I've ever seen of his. I mean, I've read a ton of his comic books.
right.
Yeah, I've watched, you know, he created Stargirl. I just watched the whole series. Um,
Yeah,
just, yeah.
it's just shocking. It's I just wonder what was going on in that writer's room. But I want to get into some of the spoiler fun Easter eggs or comic book nods we got in this film. So you've always been a fan of the Invisible Jet. You're like, why does she have an invisible jet? And so did you get excited about the idea, or did it not feel earned to have that invisible
That
jet?
was pretty dumb. I don't know if I've ever been like that. Like, where's the invisible jet? Damn it, where's like I
You
don't
did.
know.
You brought it up. Like I remember we were talking about Wonder Woman, the first movie. Like I just want to see her in invisible jet, you know, and
Okay, I'll take
going.
your word for it if I said
Yeah,
that. But no,
yeah,
I mean, no, that was stupid. And that's the
no,
thing.
no,
All of a sudden, she's got these powers, and like she just got random powers. All of a sudden, I can make shit invisible, and then she can fly. And then as she flies, John Murphy's score from Sunshine starts playing.
yeah. I remember
What
that.
the
Yeah.
hell was that? Like, yeah, we should have talked about that before because that's not really a spoiler. Just let them know. There's gonna be a point in this movie where, like, go listen to the main theme from the movie Sunshine by John Murphy, because
Yeah,
it's gonna
it's
play in this
oh
movie,
yeah.
and it's
And
like,
I was you
what
could have
is
used your own
happening?
you could have used your own theme in that one. They could have just used Wonder Woman's theme and have it sound more uplifting. And I want to say, and that's the other thing I want to talk about. Like I thought the little nod to the Invisible Jet was cool, and I did. That's where I kind of felt like maybe I wanted to give a pass to Chris Pine being in the film because it helped give that device to help teach her, or not teach her, but help guide her on how to fly. Which to me, it's not. She's not flying. I'm gonna borrow a phrase from Toy Story. I feel like she's
Falling with
falling with
style.
style. You know, because if you notice, she glides around and stuff, but then all of a sudden she uses her rope to propel her forward
Yeah,
more.
it was just, and the whole scene with the jet is so. That was when I started to realize this movie really blew, because that was, I mean, no, like they steal a jet from the Smithsonian, and it's like
Yeah,
all fueled up and ready to go, and
right.
a biplane fighter from World War One is piloting it, and I'm like, what? That was really that was like a first grader wrote the script. I was like, was this script written in crayon? I haven't thought that since GI Joe Retaliation. That's not a good thing to remind me about GI Joe Retaliation, which is in the top
and
10
it's
worst movies I've ever seen.
and for me it's so conflicting because the moment was fun and cool, but it took away from the urgency of the film. Like they're trying to hunt this guy down, but they're taking side moments to
She
have
didn't even
little.
have to take him. I mean, she's like, we have to go stop him. Is there really a we here? I mean, when Superman has to go save the day, he doesn't grab Lois Lane and be like, "We go, come on, get your gear together." We got no, like, I'm gonna take a flight. You stay here. You know,
Right. And that's the other thing part because we're talking about continuity, which DC I feel like is just completely gone away from it because if she knows how to fly now, then she should have known how to fly in the Batman vs Superman and Justice League films, which you don't. I guess you don't technically see it, so maybe they can still just horseshoe it in and be like, oh yeah, she's always known how to fly. She just don't see it on screen. I guess, but to me, she's not flying. Like there has been iterations of Wonder Woman where she literally does know how to fly, like literally take off from
sometimes
the
she knows
ground
how to
instead.
fly, sometimes she doesn't, depending because DC's had like 8 different continuities with
Oh
that
yeah,
character.
they have. But this one's more like she jumps from the ground because she can leap from high bounds, and then use her rope to kind of propel her forward, and then basically fall with style.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically what it is. So I mean, other than that, I mean, this movie was really a mess. The
Yeah.
beginning was fun for me, and I liked how they introduced. I didn't, I liked Kristen Wiig. I just feel like she was given crappy material. And Pedro Pascal and Chris Pine could have been. This could have been a 2 hour and 15 minute film that you focused on just two characters, one villain, and that's what it was all about, and I would have been perfectly fine with that.
Mhm.
I don't know. It's disappointing. Even though they grimly go through the film, I still have faith in Patty Jenkins. I mean, God, for crying out loud, it's Patty Jenkins, and she's a phenomenal filmmaker.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm also just excited to see what shows Rogue Squadron. I just hope they take these criticisms from not only the audience but the critics and take them to heart, because having too many characters does not make a good film. And we've seen that in countless prior superhero films that that's not the case.
Hmm.
And stick to what she did before, and she'll be just fine. But
Yeah.
all right, folks, that'll do it for today. Thank you very much for listening to us here today. More important, what did you think of Wonder Woman 1984? Jump in the comments, let us know, give us your score and your thoughts. Also, if you like what you listen to here, folks, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you can receive more of our various content in the future. Also, like us on Facebook and Twitter. The links will be in the description below, as always. And that's all we have for today. Again, I'm Josh Williams.
And I'm Ryan Murphy
And thank you for keeping it real.
with ReelTime.